Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're going to discuss a very important topic. I'm sure many of you live with that question on a daily basis. And although this word of love, everyone wants love, everyone wants to give love, but no one really knows what is love. That's why there is a Torah perspective to understand what is the meaning of love. And the moment we understand the Torah perspective of love, then we are capable to share love and receive love. It doesn't mean that without Torah, a person will hate people. That's not what we said. But the true meaning of love, an enduring love, and a long-lasting love, is only when we understand what is the perspective, the way Torah teaches us. Because Torah is the blueprint of the universe, the blueprint of man and woman. The moment we understand the essence, what is love has to do with life, then we can comprehend and understand how to share and give love. I will just start with a brief video here. Does anyone has ideas what is love is all about?
I think if we knew, we would have been here.
Well, but aren't you married for a couple of years? There was once a congregation invited a very famous lecturer and speaker. Want to hire him to get the congregation together. And the lecturer is speaking about different topics. They asked him, tell us, what is the most popular topic? Well, says the lecturer, the first most popular topic everyone loves is about love and marriage and relationships. And next to it, right after, which is second in line, which also many people love, is suffering and misery. They ask, aren't they coming together? If the question is love, marriage, or love begins way before marriage, we love ourselves naturally. No one has to teach us how to love myself. Why, when it comes to love myself, I don't have to be educated. But to love somebody else, I have to be educated. What's the reason? A child, the moment the child is born, child knows how to cry, knows how to ask when they grow a little bit older, I need, I want. Automatically, the love for themselves is so easy. So if we love ourselves so much, wouldn't that be easy for us to understand how to love someone who we love or supposed to love? There was once a teacher asked a class of 50 people in the classroom, do you believe in everlasting love? 49 answered, no, we don't believe in that. Only one young lady says, yes, I believe in everlasting love. They all looked at her you're young and naive. So it all depends how we look at things. So what is love? Everyone's so intrigued about it. And on the other hand, at the same time, we don't know how to handle love. There is the perception of love, and then there is a true reality of love. There is the perception what love means as the world sees on it, looks on it, and then Torah teaches us what is real love is all about. In order to understand first what the Torah has to offer us, we first have to go and see what the world looks in it. How the world perceives love, and what is love, and the definition of love. After we understand what the world has to say about love, then we can begin to see what Torah has to say about love. And then we can compare which one is real love and which one is just speaking about love. Please open up in your books, page 33. I will start with the text 1. I know some people came today and we didn't have your books, but we can order. So B'ezrat next week you're going to have it. If you can, love is sharing. Share it, please. First of all, we have to understand do you believe that it's possible to find true love and live happily after?
Well, you have to work at it.
Okay. So you believe in it?
Yeah.
Yes? No? I see in the second line.
Mm-hmm.
Not really?
It's a real job.
It's a full-time job? What do you think?
Me?
In the back.
Me?
You in the back.
Me?
Yeah.
I think that it's giving.
So you believe it's possible?
I think, of course I think it's possible. I think it's possible, I think it's viable, and I think it's what you put into it, is what you get out of it. You have to be willing to give of yourself like 100%, and then you receive in turn.
What do the men in this crowd think? True love possible?
Possible. Hopefully.
And live forever with love?
Possible.
Yeah, okay. How do we achieve that? That's the question.
I think it's through tolerance.
Tolerance? Okay. Any other ideas? How do we achieve true love that can be enduring and lasting forever?
Functional communication.
Communication,
Sacrifice.
tolerance.
Making sacrifices for somebody else for
Sacrifice.
your own desire. Sometimes it's like to please your partner.
Any other ideas?
Acceptance.
Acceptance.
Find somebody you
Acceptance
respect.
means what?
Accepting the good and the bad and the strength and the weaknesses.
So the way you are, we accept you, even though you're not perfect. It's fine for me. That's what he's saying. You sure about that? You don't seem so sure about it.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
And loving your spouse like you would want to be treated.
Okay, so that's what after the guy come up on. What else did you say?
Find somebody that you respect.
And if you discover later you don't respect that much,
Then you have to wonder why people change.
so then not much can go on. Okay? That's all perspectives, the way we see it. I didn't hear one real answer yet.
Oh, no.
One real answer the way the Torah teaches what is love, and a real meaning how to bring about love. Can you believe it?
Caring for someone like you
So for
care
that,
yourself.
we can go on the whole night, but we want to really get to the point where we will understand. So let's take text to 1.
How about love thy neighbor like yourself?
Okay, that's good for the neighbor. I'm sure it's good for the spouse. Let's start with text to 1, page 33, please. Start. Can you summarize in 2 words what you read?
2 words?
1 line. Briefly.
He's saying that it's such a it's only one component in life, but it has a lot of weight given the other things in your life. It's more weighted than even your intellect, and you know it pulls a lot of weight.
Why is it? Why is it so important? Pulls so much weight. First of all, we have to understand love is something that is given to us as a gift by Hashem, by God. It's not something we invented, love. We can invent things. Love is a gift from Hashem. And as such, there is a reason why God invented love. As everything that Hashem did in this world has a reason, how much more when it comes to such an important ingredient as love. So as the secular world looks what is love is all about, and they look on the substance, why did God create such a need for love? And the translation is very simple. Could be a sexual attraction, and it should lead eventually to families, children, offsprings, and so on. That could be the way you can explain one way why did God invent the concept of love. In simple theory, it's an evolution. It evolves. Love is something that evolves. And the secular world, as to look on it as the world looks on it, it's called the evolutionary model. That the evolutionary model means God created an urge, so people want and are there to get married because they are attracted to each other for whatever reasons. And there is a need of survival. That's one of the basic needs. And this whole concept says, well, we get married, we have a family, we have children, so we will survive. But that concept is always only good as long as people can have children. What happens after the age when people can have children? Is there value to marriage, love? Or if people decided not to have children, is there still a value to be married to each other? Or people who could not have children, should they get married? So obviously, in that perspective, there is no reason. Live a life and move on with your own life. Why would you want to get married and get into trouble? Let's take text 2 before we're going in. Page 34 to 2a, just to summarize what you read.
It's so deep.
That's still only the other idea, which is the idea of the way the world looks on love. Love is needed. Love is important because each and every one of us has an ego. And part of our ego says to us, we want always to exist. And how do we come to exist? By having children and having love and sharing. That will continue our existence. We think about ourselves. We are focused on me, I. We forget that this I is going to be lost very soon. There is nothing stays forever. But that's the way we approach things. And then we look for someone to get married to, so we can have the ego and focus on the ego even stronger than before. That's one way that perceives and looks as love, because we want to strengthen our ego. Do you feel it's correct? Why not? Is it totally wrong, you think?
No.
It's not wrong. That's nature of life. However, even that important way of learning and understanding about love, it's still not the love that the Torah is talking about. The Torah has a much deeper meaning to the word of love. Because whenever you speak about ego, means there is me and there is my spouse. We are both two people. We have really nothing more in common than strengthen our own ego. So as long as we focus on the ego, my ego and your ego, each one is an ego. What happens when those two egos collide with each other? You have an argument, disagreement about a very important matter. Your ego says, I am right. Your spouse's ego says, I am right. And it's totally opposite from each other. How do you resolve such an argument? Is there a way to resolve? If I am right and my way is correct, how can I follow your way? When your way is totally wrong. Yes?
Why do you interpret that just as an ego? Why not two people can have different ideas? Not everybody.
But if you want to merge them together, each individual, as based on this, what we just read, is the reason why we want to get married is because we want to strengthen our own personal ego, which is self-confidence and perpetuate what I feel is my future. How do you find a way to say, if I am right, I should agree with someone who is totally wrong?
What's wrong by finding somebody who has closer ideas to you?
Well, obviously in the beginning, sometimes people, and I'll share with you a story, a true story by the way. Two people know each other for 12 years. By now they are married 7 years, and they have, thank God, 3 children. They are very happy. When they first met 12 years ago, they found attraction to each other, but then they realized they're not meant for each other. Two different people. They went on with their life. 5 years later, they met again. And now they fell in love again, and they felt they're meant for each other. They got married, and they live a happy life. 3 children, 7 years already married, very happy. What happened between the first time when they met and the second time?
Reality check.
What's going on? The reality changed?
A reality check.
Because change, their ideas change.
So if you believe in that concept that people change, so it means 5 years later they can change again.
But they might not change.
Usually people grow and change. No one stays the same. Yeah.
If you're mature and you value your relationship, then you're willing to make certain compromises to keep it. I mean, there's always going to be some power play between like 2 individuals, like you said, because each individual has its own mindset, its own desires. But the only way you can make things work is by respecting the other person, listening to their viewpoint, and sometimes compromising what you feel.
Even if you feel your spouse is totally wrong? What do you think?
I mean, there are different levels of communication. Once you establish a relationship, it's like when I was married, there was no competition. So if there was a disagreement, it was about this specific subject. It was not about my ego or his ego.
Okay, but if it has to do with something, what is right or wrong? If my way is right, so then I am right. If your way is right, then you are right, and I am wrong. So how do you resolve such a difference?
What is the goal? The goal is to create a family.
Correct.
So,
But
depending, I mean, it shouldn't affect each other's ego if the goal is not who is winning, it's not.
so how do you come to that level to understand the goal is to create a family? It's fine, but unfortunately, the fact, reality shows that 30% of marriages end up in divorce, and 1/3, and there is many more people who live together on the outside, but they're really divorced emotionally, inside. So if it's that simple the way you're saying it, why is it such a high rate of divorce? And emotional divorce people is even higher. Yes? Ilya?
I think most people probably don't care to work on their relationship because they're so busy with their daily lives. And it takes work and it takes some compromising, and you have to pick your battles. You could be right on one thing one day, wrong on the next thing another day. All of that's subjective anyway, a lot of it is. And you know, you could, for instance, have an agreement on certain issues about the way we live. You know, I'll make the decisions, or at least I'll have the final word, and you'll have the final word on these other issues. And if you can come to those kind of agreements, it makes it a lot easier.
Well, now you can compromise on the ego. Sometimes I will give in, sometimes you will give in. Certain issues you will make the decisions, certain other things I will make the decisions. You know the famous story of the husband and the wife? That the husband says, I make the big decisions. My wife always makes these little decisions, you know. She makes the decisions what we're going to eat for dinner, where we're going for vacation. I make the big decisions, which president will be voted in. What's the president will make a decision tomorrow. That's the big decisions of the husband. So it depends how you look at it, the bottom line. And the perspective of being an ego and 2 egos, and each one works to satisfy my ego, and you will satisfy your ego. So certain decisions you will make. Is that called a true marriage? Is that really marriage?
They're married. They're married.
They have a little argument there. We'll take one more line to understand how the world looks again from the same perspective of what is the marriage, and then we will turn around and see what Torah has to say about it. Let's go to 2b, page 13.
If human reproductive behavior is a complicated thing, part of the reason is that it's designed to serve two clashing purposes. On the one hand, we are driven to mate a lot. On the other hand, we want to mate well so that our offspring survive. If you are a female, you get only a few rolls of the reproductive dice in a lifetime. If you are a male, your freedom to conceive is limited only by the availability of willing partners. But the demands of providing for too big a broad are a powerful incentive to limit your pairings to the female who will give you just a few strong young. For that reason, no sooner do we reach sexual maturity that we learn to look for signals of good genes and reproductive fitness in potential partners, and importantly, to display them on ourselves. Every living human is a descendant of a long line of successful maters, says David Boss, an evolutionary psychologist at the University of Texas at Austin. We have adopted to pick certain types of mates and to fulfill the desires of the opposite sex.
So here again, we're looking for the best possible match, mate, as they call it here, and which we think will bring our children also healthy children, and we want our children to survive. So we want to choose the right mates, and eventually our children will continue the same. That's why we are here today, because our predecessors. However, what's the idea of marriage? Chuppah, rabbi, witnesses, all the ceremony is all about. All animals mate and they have children and they survive and they go on. What's this marriage is all about? Why can't we just find someone, live together and move on with life? We like each other, we'll stay together. We don't like each other, we move on. When I meet a young couple who want to get married, that's one of the questions I ask them. Why do you want to get married? What's the point? You want to live together, you live anyway together. You want to be separated, you go to your ways and nobody's hurt. Why to get married and then find all the problems of marriage and find the solutions for marriage? What's the point?
Want to have children.
Okay.
With the commitment.
Children. Anyway, you can have children. What's the point of marriage? What is a marriage? What is this special thing about marriage? People can have children without marriage. Today is the world open to anything and everything.
Marriage to create mitzvah.
Is it about the covenant, the commitment to each other, the same way that we have the covenant with God?
Okay, that's a commitment. I hear something, yes.
It's an institution that tries to guarantee perpetual caring and sharing.
Can you have
and
a commitment without marriage?
I don't know if it'll be
Two
that
friends
lasting.
have a good commitment to each other,
Uh-huh.
and they are committed. What's the marriage have to do with that?
They say that commitment is an important thing, and marriage is a wonderful institution, but who wants to be committed to an institution?
So you're helping my question. So you're strengthening my question, I answer you.
Are we involving our God in that commitment when we
That's the
get
question. What do you need God there?
married? To be our
Two people having a good time together, what do you need God there? To disturb you?
to be our judge, to be our witness.
Huh? To be your witness, to judge. When you have, if there is sometimes a disagreement with your husband, you turn to God, God, what do you think? Who's right? You do that sometimes?
You know, actually, it should be that way because if you go to him, he'll give you the right answer.
You're making an oath of responsibility. If you're just staying with somebody, you know, you don't have to necessarily be that responsible. If it doesn't suit you, you can walk away. But when you enter the institution of marriage, you're making an oath that you're going to be responsible for the well-being of that person, that you're going to be responsible for yourself as well as somebody else. It's a commitment of responsibility. And I think you don't necessarily have that feeling of responsibility outside of marriage.
Even if you make a commitment with a lawyer, with a judge, don't you make a commitment sometimes? And you keep that commitment? And you're an honest person as I know you? So if you made a pledge and a commitment, you would keep it. What does marriage has to do with that?
Rabbi, I'm a little bit confused here. Why are we, before we even find out what love is, why we are connecting it to marriage, why we are connecting it to ego, and why we are connecting it to children? I mean, aren't we supposed to know what love itself is by itself?
Yeah, when it comes to love yourself, you know that very well. Everyone knows that. We all know what means loving ourselves. The issue with love begins when we have to share love with somebody else. When two different individuals are meeting and now they decided to live a life together, and to live a life together means I have to compromise. And always I have to change what I think in order to make the other person happy. Why would I want to do that all the time? Don't I have my own individuality? Don't I believe what I think is correct? Why do I have to always accommodate the other person?
So the only love that we are describing here, or finding about it, is the love within the context of marriage.
Well, the question is, if you love yourself, you don't need to question what is love. You know what love means. Whatever I want it, I get it. That's what love.
Not necessarily all the people love themselves or they know how to love themselves. They think they love themselves.
Oh.
That's the first thing that...
But, in general, people understand loving myself means I get whatever I like, whatever I want. That means loving myself. Now the question is, how do we love somebody else and still love ourselves? By nature we love ourselves. We don't have to do anything for that. Can we love somebody else while we're not losing love for ourselves? Is there such a thing? Yes.
You keep equating love to what you're getting, what you're receiving, to your ego. But you know, if you read Song of Songs, they talk about the power of love, where a person, they say no rivers, waters can quench it, that nothing can like destroy it, that it's a passion or fire that's within that reflects outward. It's not necessarily just about yourself. You keep equating it to just yourself. You know, the ability to love is to be able to come outside of yourself and to put something ahead of yourself and make it more powerful than yourself. Why do people sacrifice their lives for loved ones? Why do they go into a fire to bring out a child or something?
Do you see it? Can you read what it says over here? No. Almost half of all marriages end up in divorce. I said the 1/3, but I see it says even half. Why is it? Even more, they're emotionally divorced. Sitting in the same house, living in the same house, they have nothing to do with each other. They are together officially for their children, so they don't do anything else. And sometimes people meet and they make a pledge for everlasting love. Dreams of bliss. Can this love endure? So far what we read and understood is the way the world looks on love. It's called evolutionary love. Evolutionary love is something that I have to satisfy my needs, my ego, my direction in life, and therefore, we're getting married. It's like a business plan. I'm getting married because there is a real reason over here to fulfill the needs of my business plan. As long as it suits my plan, I am still married. But if it comes to a moment where it contradicts my plan, and that plan means I have to give up something that I love, I will not accept that. I'm not interested. Just an hour ago was a woman here. Her husband doesn't want to support her. Why? He makes a living. Makes very nice living, but he likes a good BMW. He likes another sport car. Why would he continue giving the family? He can't stand this burden. You have to sacrifice. Why would I want to sacrifice? If I can have a single life and I can have everything I want, what I need is headache for. And both partners can find the same way. What I need to live with this Yotzmach that doesn't do nothing good for me. You know, yeah, people can come up with these ideas. And it's daily, nothing unusual, right?
You make a good case, Rabbi.
On which part?
The BMW part.
Till we come to the idea the way Torah teaches us, and we really begin to see what love is really has to do with life, and then the whole perspective will change. The way the love model that we focus till now is focused on the body of the person. That the body should endure the best. You want to see the best results, so they're healthy, strong. You can see the effect of it. You want to see someone who's strong, who's productive, good genes, smart, everything you wish to see in your children.
There's no guarantees of that either, though. You know?
But that's usually the case. The genes are usually transferred from the parents to the children. So, if that's the case, that's what parents look. When you look for a mate, you look something. Because the focus is mostly on the body part. The Torah moves out from that level. It doesn't say that the body is not important. The body is very important. But what keeps the marriage together and going is not the body. It's the soul. We shift the focus from the body point of view to the real power of the body is the soul. Because if we just look to the body is always changing. And the body is not the same. When people are young, they get married. You know, there is a famous line that I heard once from Rabbi Jacobson said, when a young couple gets married, the husband says to his wife, I hope to see you the same way for the rest of your life. You should be staying the same, not changing the way you are. And she says to him, don't worry, I'll change you. I know the way you are now, but I'm sure I can change you in the future. he is wrong and she is wrong. It's not, she will never stay the same, and she will never be able to change him. That's the way we are. We always think what can be done the way we look at things. If the perspective is the body, but if the perspective is the soul, and now we're going into a different direction, and that's where Torah comes up, what love has to do with that. Love is not just the body attraction. Love has to do with the soulmate. I know there is going to be a lot of questions about the soulmate for a second marriage and on and on. There is a lot of questions, but let's focus first on the concept, and then the questions will leave towards the end about the differences. If you open up page 37.
You know, Rabbi, a couple of years ago, my daughter says to me, Mom, why do we have to marry? She's 19 now.
Good.
I never answered her.
So you came to the right class.
Yes. And it's still stuck in my mind. I said, why do we have to marry?
You left her without an answer?
Right.
What'd you tell her? I'll think about it?
Yes. Seriously.
Okay.
No, I said to her, no, I didn't leave with no answer. I'll tell you when it's gonna come to me, I'll tell you what I said.
Hopefully tonight after the class, hopefully you'll have what to tell her.
Yes.
That's the idea.
And I meant to call you, but go ahead.
The Torah teaches us as the time of creation Zachar unekeva bera'am. God created male and female. Vayivarech otam, and He blessed them. Vayikra et shmam Adam beyom hibaram. When God created the day of creation, He called them humans. What is the idea that God created Zachar unekeva bera'am? That God created male and female together, and He blessed them on the day of their creation, and that day of creation He separated male and female. And basically to teach us that in essence, male and female were one when God created them. But in order to continue the generations, God separated male and female, and He blessed them on the day of creation. The Talmud teaches us, after the destruction of the first Holy Temple, one of the main reasons why the Holy Temple was destroyed was idol worshipping. People had a strong desire for idol worshipping. Like people are today have a strong desire for what? What is it?
Money.
What people don't do for money today, right? Anything and everything. Then the desire was for idol worship. It didn't make any sense. But they wanted to worship idols. Imagine while the Holy Temple stands, and there is open miracles of godliness, people can see God's presence, and they walk out from the temple, they take a right turn and a left turn, and then go worship idols. They couldn't overcome. So after the destruction of the Holy Temple, right in the beginning of the building of the second temple, says the Talmud, all the rabbis in Jerusalem got together, and they fasted and prayed for 3 days. To ask God to remove that desire of idol worshipping. And after 3 days, God responded. that desire of worshiping idols was taken away. The next strongest desire is, after that, money. What else comes?
Love.
Sexual desires. So the rabbis got together again as to tell us that one of the reasons why the second temple was also affected was also idolatry. First and second. So the rabbis got together and they started to fast a second time. For this time to remove the desire of sexual relations. And after 3 days, the effect of it was so powerful that, says the Talmud, the rabbis were looking to find an egg to cook, to eat something. They could not find an egg in all over Israel. Because it didn't affect just human beings. It's affected all creation, even animals. They realized God has a reason why there is such a strong desire. Because, and it's an interesting concept, says the Talmud further, that the selfish inclination brings about continuity of the world. People, when God gave this inclination, is not necessarily all evil. To teach us something very interesting. God created the world, V'hinei, and it's so good. And then it says, and it's very good. Why sometimes it says good, and sometimes it says very good? When it comes to God created two inclinations, it says. The good inclination and the evil inclination. When it comes to the good inclination, the Torah says, and God saw it's good. Means good inclination. When God created the evil inclination, God saw it's very good. What is very good about it? There is continuity. If that evil inclination would be missing, there would be no desire for continuity. So God implanted in everything the desire which seems evil, but that desire can be evil and can be the most holiest desire. It depends how we utilize that. But God calls it very good, because many times we use it in the wrong direction. But in essence, has a very good reason, because that's how the world can continue.
What do you mean that's how the world can continue? Why does the evil inclination allow the world to continue?
What looks to us evil, it's really the desire to reproduce and have the next generation. So looks to us an evil thing to have it, but the truth is that's God's desire. And that's why the Torah gives us certain direction, how to keep it in the right direction. So here we find the evolutionary model, and then there is the Torah model. The evolutionary model focuses on the body, how to develop the body relation. The body relation begins with everything what is physical. Attraction, physical, that's what I'm interested in. The Torah relations looks what is the inner part of the physical. What's beyond the physical? We'll get to it soon. that in essence, when two people get married, they're really not two people, they're really one. Because their soul was one before it was born. When it had to come down to this world, the soul was divided in two, and one went to a male part of the soul, went to the male, the female part of the soul went to the female. And they can be very far from each other. And then God makes miracles how those two meet, and they suddenly fall in love. And it's such an excitement. And then we do a wedding. And the wedding is so special. What's the big deal about a wedding? Two people meet, they love each other, they live together. Why this great celebration of a wedding? What's this has to do with a young couple? Give them the money, what are you spending on a wedding, $100,000, and let them be happy in life. Why to waste the money?
Do those two parts always come together if they're coming down, if they're one, and then it splits? Do they always come together?
Yes. Otherwise they wouldn't get married.
So what happens when you have a Jewish person and a non-Jewish person?
What happens when there is a divorce? What happens? Many other ideas happen.
No, but if
A marriage can be only between two people that the Torah says can be a marriage. In other words, a marriage can apply only to two Jewish people. Non-Jewish people can also get married. But what is a marriage that we are discussing here is the holiness of the marriage. It's only between two Jewish people.
But you said that God intervenes and two separate souls come together due to God's intervention. What happened to God's intervention if you're having a Jew and a non-Jew marry? What happened to the intervention?
There is no marriage, according to Torah, can take place between a Jew and a non-Jew.
So
It's
not a
that
marriage.
a non-Jew can convert and be married to a Jew. That can be. But a non-Jew with a Jew, there is no concept of marriage. There is two people living together. Marriage, as not the way you describe the institution, but love and marriage, what Torah calls marriage is the two souls coming together. It can be only within the same group of people.
So where is the divine push for the two souls to rejoin if that soul for a lifetime is missing the other soul and say marries a non-Jew?
Well, we will discuss about it in the future.
Next class.
That there is such a thing, but people miss their opportunities, as we discussed last class. Not every time when a soul comes down to this world, it will fulfill the goal. If the person is not focused, doesn't have a mission statement, doesn't have a focus in life, and is confused, can go to the wrong direction. Absolutely. Then the soul goes up and suffers and comes in again, tries to fulfill the goal. It happens. Doesn't mean it cannot happen. In marriage can happen also. People they see they can get married to someone and they sometimes not focused, they are confused, they're marrying the wrong person, and other things can happen. It doesn't mean that they can not still correct it. Things happen in life, which we don't know everything, but the way we're going to focus now is just the idea. And then we can discuss in different details how this works together. But the essence, the way Torah looks on it, is not that just two people met each other and they got to know each other. No, it doesn't happen like that. So therefore, the way the Torah looks on it is the soul is one, separated in two bodies, and now the soul comes together with the two bodies together. That's what marriage takes place. Now, if those two get together, first of all, it's like two friends that didn't see each other for a long time. When those two get together, it becomes a huge celebration, you know. The longer they didn't see each other, the more they missed each other. Now when they see each other, wow, like I know you for ages, and we met. And we are excited about it. That excitement is the wedding. Two souls reunited together, met each other, whatever ways God brings them together, and now they're gonna build a family together.
And how does it work with the divorce? So they get together, and these are two souls that reunited, and then 20 years later, finished. What happened?
Could be that each soul has another mate that they have to remarry.
In this lifetime, in the same
Correct.
lifetime?
The same lifetime. Could be other things, which I'm not going into that details, because that's again details as we described earlier. But there is such a thing. The soul has to correct 2 lifetimes of the past that they did wrong. So sometimes they have to do in one lifetime what usually people do in 3 lifetimes. They'll do in 1 lifetime. They'll marry 2 or 3 times. It's doable, possible, everything. Unfortunately, but that person is suffering. It's not a happy life. It's suffering that they go through. Each divorce and marriage, it's not simple. Just get back to our idea over here. The Talmud says to us that when these 2 people reunite, it becomes complete. It means a person, male or female, who live by themselves, even though it's convenient, I love it this way, no one bothers me, they're, in a certain sense, they're incomplete. They cannot do to fulfill their mission in this generation, in this lifetime, if they live on their own. There are people that God sometimes meant for them to be alone, and there is things that happens. There are single people who live a life as alone. It could be also, but this is the exception to the rule. That's not the rule. Every rule has an exception.
Why would there be that exception?
Again, we don't know the rules of God and the souls, what happened in the past, and so on. But every rule has an exception to the rule. But the general understanding that each soul is only half, must have the second half in order to be complete.
How do you know that this is the right soulmate?
Very good question. It comes from the heart.
From what?
From the heart. It's not the mind dictates this is the right person for me. It's the heart. The heart feels, I want this person. I miss that person. If a person feels, I miss that person, I didn't see for a couple of days, I want to talk to them, I want to connect to them, means there is a connection there. There's a story told here.
But how many times are people just, they're set up, they don't even meet each other and they just get married?
They don't even meet each
Like
other?
they meet each other at the wedding. Like that's where they meet.
Where did you see
I
that?
mean, that's like, in the old times when
Maybe in
people
Iran.
got set up and, yeah.
The good old days.
They,
There was once a young lady walks into the Rebbe and she tells the Rebbe there is a lot of people being offered to her, but she doesn't find anyone very attractive. She doesn't find anyone so overwhelming with love for them. She is very indifferent about them. Why would you want to get married to them? The Rebbe smiled to her and said, probably you're reading a lot of love novels. In love novels, you will discover there is overwhelming love, takes you over in a second, and you lose yourself. That's only good in the novels. In reality, says the Rebbe to her, love has to be nurtured, small details, day by day, till you learn to live with each other. You begin to respect each other. You begin to miss each other, that you need each other to stay together. That's what real feeling of love is. It's not overwhelming feeling that you suddenly you are a different person. No. It's day by day to build that relationship, day in and day out. Yes.
And there's also a difference between one's wants and one's needs. What you think you want may not be what you really need. And what you really need, when you're looking for that person, if they fulfill the true needs of your heart and soul, and it's your soulmate. And if people get sometimes confused because they see someone that's attractive and they want that person, but that person may not fulfill the inner needs.
But usually, most of the time, if you really feel for that person and you want it, that means that the heart connects, the souls reconnect. And if the marriage really works and you get married, means those two souls are really meant for each other. That's how it works, yes.
So when you said that the Torah considers marriage only between two Jewish people, if you have a friend who's never gotten married, then you wouldn't encourage them to say, okay, it doesn't matter. If it's not Jewish, it doesn't matter. Basically, if you say that, they're still not fulfilling the goal according to what you're saying.
For each
That
soul,
is no
there
point
is a
in doing
soulmate.
that.
So tell them, okay, get married just to anyone. It's not enough.
You're saying that it's
They
wrong.
have to search and find their soulmate to get married.
Now, I'm not
And a
saying-
Jew cannot find a soulmate with someone who is not a Jew. Simple as that.
So there's no point, basically.
They're not going to fulfill their goal by being just married to someone. Saying, I'm married. That's how Torah looks at it. Because the whole concept of marriage is this soul connection. The body obviously is important because the body expresses what the soul feels. But it's not begins with the body and ends with the body. It begins with the soul, expresses through the body, and comes back to the soul.
Hashem created Adam and Hava. He created Hava to be a helpmate to Adam. So but what do you mean when you say a helpmate? A helpmate is generally someone that physically accommodates what you need in life. You know, it doesn't say he created Hava to complete Adam's soul. It said he created her as a helpmate.
That's why we're going to read the next paragraph, and you will hear what the Talmud and the Medrash has to say about that. Who wants to read next? Page 37, 3b.
Anyone without a wife is living without good, without assistance, without happiness, without blessing, without atonement for sins, without peace, and without life. Rabbi Chia Bar Gamda said, he is also not a complete person, as it says, and he blessed them, and he called them human. Both together are called a person.
So the fact that Hashem called them both together as humans, Adam, means God didn't create one to help the other, one to fulfill the other. Both to fulfill each other. So that idea is only, as we're learning here, is to help to fulfill each other. One without the other cannot be fulfilled. Just read 3c2.
A male without a female is considered half a person. When they unite as one, the two halves become one person.
So, in the first model, as we discussed the evolutionary model, the whole idea of marriage was to benefit me. I needed to have a happy life. I need to fulfill my ego, my future, my survival. I need and I need and I need. If there is no need for that, why to get married? There is no reason to get married. But the way the Torah looks and thinks has nothing to do to fulfill your needs, physical needs there. It's not just to bring survival, Your ego has to do with being complete. Complete means even people that cannot have children still have to get married. Because in the marriage there is a purpose. There is a goal. When two people live together, God comes and the presence of God is there too. When one person lives together, there is no presence of God. How do you understand that? When two people live together, they bring God's presence there. By the fact that they are complete. As we learned last week, that God has the component of male and the component of female. And when those two come together in this world, we bring that component of Hashem there too, this completeness in the home. Just to share with you something that the Talmud also shares about the Hebrew words Ish and Isha. Ish is written Aleph Yud Shin, and Isha is Aleph Shin Hey. Right? So both have Aleph and Shin, which in Hebrew means fire. But also, the man has the extra Yud, Ish, Aleph, Yud, Shin, and the woman has Hey, and that's the name of God. When man and woman live together, we bring godliness there. Yud and K, which is the first two letters of the four letters of real God's name. Yud K Vav K. And that's the reason when people don't get married for another, because I want to survive, I want to have children. The fact to get married is important to make God complete. And the same thing, if you continue 3D, comes from the Maharal of Prague.
The male has what is lacking in the female, and the female has what is lacking in the male. Thus, the coming together of male and female brings about completion. Not because through this they will have children, but rather because alone they are incomplete. When they're united, their creation is complete without lacking anything.
So again, the Maharal says, again, that concept, when they are together, we are complete. Now, what are we speaking about completeness? What does it mean, completeness? Completeness of what? Do we feel incomplete? It's a wonderful idea, completeness, together. What is it incomplete that we need to complete?
Yeah, we feel incomplete.
What do you feel incomplete about?
Well, if a person, excuse me, if a person wasn't feeling incomplete, then they would have no desire to find a mate.
Find a mate, maybe you want to have children, you want to have a family.
But it comes from a sense of being incomplete, of searching for that other part that's missing.
So the question is, do you search and what is attracts you is the body side, or are you really looking for the spiritual completeness here?
Spiritual completeness, of course.
No question about it, right? Normally, usually the people are attracted is the physical part. The soul is really the least things that we look to find. What Torah sees is love doesn't come from the body. Because the body is physical. As a physical body, if I give something away from me, I will miss it. I won't have it. How can I give it away, something that I need for myself? Can I give something away what I need? Absolutely not. because my physical body needs it. How can I give it away? So that concept is, sometimes when you have to get married and you have to give and share, it's really difficult. But if you look, I'm not giving. At the same time when I give, I really getting. I'm getting to become complete. So that's a different perspective. What it means I'm getting to become complete. If you open up page 39, Vayivra Elokim et Adam betzalmo, Hashem created man in his image, Betzelem Elokim bara oto, Zachar u'nekiva bara otam. So, the way God created them, He created them first together. Betzelem Elokim bara oto, and then it says Zachar u'nekiva bara otam, male and female. So, what is exactly the Torah tries to teach us? It means that Adam and Eve were created at the same time. Not two different times as we usually think. At first Adam and then later on Eve. So the Torah says clearly, Vayivra Elokim et Adam betzalmo betzelem bara oto, Zachar u'nekiva bara otam. And the Talmud says, Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani says, B'sha'a shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu et Adam, dayo partzufim ro. He created Adam with two faces. Venasro, v'aso gabayim gav lekan v'gav lekan. So it means God created Adam and Eve together with two faces. God cut them off and separated and created rear and front for each one. And that means male and female. Created them together and separated them. Why did God create them together? To teach us that when we are together, we are as one unit. When we are separated, we are only half.
Family?
Yes.
I have another spin on this. Like when we were souls in Shemayim, we were united with Hashem. We come down, we're born in this world, we're alone. What about the element of loneliness? Nobody wants to suffer perpetual loneliness. And I think that a lot of people get married because they want to feel that they're not totally alone. It's very scary to go through life and feel that you're a loner. And the fact that you unite your life with somebody else that supposedly cares about you eliminates that feeling of loneliness, and it joins you. Just like we were joined with Hashem, you join with another person, and like you said, and then you bring in, and then Hashem like joins partnership with that with you. But it's like to destroy, it's to demolish that loneliness of coming into the world and being alone.
Loneliness, as you're claiming, is definitely not a positive thing. And it's good. Lo tov heyod ha'adam levado. The Torah says specifically it's not good to be alone. And that's the value of marriage. What's the reason why we feel lonely when we are alone? Why would you feel lonely? Shouldn't you feel contained? I have everything I want, thank God. Why should I feel lonely? But the fact that you are only half, that's the reason why you feel lonely. There is a need for you because you feel alone. And alone means only half. So you need the second part to not to feel lonely. Exactly the case. They claim what was the best part by Adam and Eve? Adam was a very happy man. You know why? They say he didn't have to deal with a mother-in-law. He was a very happy man, never bothered, no one bothered him. He was always... But, as we learned last week, that everyone we meet has a reason. And because has a reason means that even the mother-in-law is part of to complete our mission. And that's the idea that everyone who we meet, whether we like or dislike, is part of the mission. And that's why the Torah says, Al ken ya'azov ish et aviv et imo, ve'davak be'ishto v'haya lo basar echad. A man is obligated, by nature, kids want to linger around their parents, we love our parents. Torah says clearly, Ya'azov ish et aviv ve'imo, leave your father and mother, ve'davak be'ishto v'hayu lo basar echad. That they cleaves to his wife and they become one flesh. And that shows to us again that the body is not a contradiction to the soul. If we have the right perspective that the soul is the beginning, and that's where it penetrates to the body, and the body reflects the feelings of the soul, then the body and the soul are synchronized. Then it's a healthy relationship. If the body feels different than the soul, and the soul and the body are not synchronized and not on the same page, that's where confusion begins. Why am I married? Why do I need to stay married? I am suffering. I better move on with my life, and I shouldn't be here. But when we are, the body and soul are synchronized, and we understand we are married because the souls are together, and now it's time to work out, the body should work out with each other, then we try to find ways to work things out. And that's the reason why the goal in every good step, there's a lot of obstacles. The better the mitzvah, the greater the mitzvah, the greater obstacles will be in the way. And if we know and we understand the right perspective, then we focus. But how do we keep that focus? How are we able to remember that we can keep that love forever? That's the main question that we did not answer yet. We will still come to this question. We'll continue on page 40 first.
I just have one question. It's the commandment for the man to leave his family and cleave to his wife. Well, how come it's not a commandment for the wife? Let's say the wife's family is interfering with the marriage. Is it a commandment for her as well as for him?
Obviously, it's not just the men is commanded. It's for both. That's what the Torah says. They are both equal. Page 40, 5a. Who is next?
When God sent the soul forth into the world, they include a male and a female joined together. When they descended to the world, they are separated from each other. Sometimes one soul precedes the other in descending and entering the body of human beings. When their time to be married arrives, God, who knows these souls, joins them as they were before. They descended in the world.
What page you read?
5A.
5A, you said.
You're reading 5a? Okay, I'll just go ahead.
When they are joined together, they become one body and one soul.
Okay. So, that comes from the Zohar. And basically to teach us what we spoke earlier of the separation and reunification. Continue with 5b next.
If a person did not see a close friend for a long time, upon reunion, the love and the joy will burn with great intensity. However, had they not been separated for so long, the love and joy of reunion would not be as great. Yet the intensity of love upon reunion is relative to their attachment before they separated. If their attachment were very strong, then the pain of their separation would be very great. And the greater the pain upon separation, the stronger the love and joy upon reunion. Likewise, regarding the joy of bride and groom, before being placed into bodies, their souls were united with the ultimate spiritual closeness. But once placed into separate bodies, the souls were completely separated for a long time. Then when they come together at the time of wedding under the chuppah, there is great joy since they were separated for so long. This is the primary reason for the joy of the bride and groom.
So here it confirms what we spoke earlier. The simcha of getting marriage is the two souls coming together. There's a very famous story, the Talmud. The Talmud brings about a Roman minister, matron, who said to the Rabbi Yossi Bar Chalafta, very famous rabbinic leader, "What is your God doing every day?" And I said, "Well, God is running the world. But He created the world. What is God is doing every day?" Well, says Rabbi Yosef Bar Chalafta to her, God is matching people together. Takes a male from here, a female from there, brings them together so they can get married. She answered to him, "Well, this is such a big deal what God should be busy with. I have 2,000 slaves, 1,000 males and 1,000 females. Watch what I'm going to do tonight." Okay. Rabbi Yosef Bar Chalafta came there and she put him in two rows, 1,000 male, 1,000 female. And she started to match them. You, this male with this female, this male with this female, this female with this male. And within an hour, she said, "Now you're married to each other. Go home." So you would imagine they will all be excited and happy. But the next day, the next morning, says the Talmud, when they came in the morning, one came with a broken head, and the other one came with a broken leg, and one was missing an eye, one was missing an ear, and each one had complaints. So why did you match me with this person? Totally, we don't match with each other. And we were fighting a whole night. I don't want to be together. And each one complained. And it says the Talmud that the matron called Rabbi Yossi, and she told him, "Now I begin to realize how real is your God. It's not just going to put people together, but putting people together that match with each other. That's the key. How do you put people that match with each other?" Obviously, God is not looking just at the body, because the body is not what makes people together. Just give me a second. Next slide. There's a famous story about a very famous rabbi who came to his teacher and he said, "Can you show me why would I have to be married to this woman?" And the teacher asked him, "Why not? Doesn't she look beautiful? Isn't she perfect? She's so great. She's perfect and great, but why would I have to be married with her?" Teacher opens up the book of the Chumash and it shows that his name is found in the codes and the letters of the Torah. And next to his name comes her name. And that's how we know you belong to each other. Not everyone is capable to see that. It's not everyone can open up the book and see here is your name and this is your name. But every person's name is in the Torah. And tzaddikim, righteous people, they look on the souls and they see if souls matching or not. Has nothing to do with the body. And many, many times, there's a very famous story that they sent to the Rebbe a letter from Israel with the name of the bride and the name of the groom. And usually the Rebbe would give a blessing. And here the Rebbe says, check out of the groom, who is he? And the groom studies in yeshiva, comes from a very nice family. And they found that the groom was adopted as a little child. And this is his real sister. And no one knew that, including the parents. So, righteous people have a view to the soul. And they don't need to see the body to realize about the soul. They see the name and they connect the name to the soul. That's why when a child is born, the parents give the child a name. Usually the name reflects the soul, the Hebrew name. And that Hebrew name is what a righteous person looks on. Give me your name and your mother's name, they say, and they will tell you what is your soul is all about. Obviously they will not tell you because they're not supposed to tell you. When it comes to marriage, or you get a blessing or you don't get a blessing. Means if you didn't get a blessing, means there is an issue there to look further. So sometimes we need above intervention, as to say, to make sure to confirm this works or doesn't work. But usually the Torah gives us a straight line guidance. If the two souls who meet and they feel for each other and they care for each other, it's not an overwhelming love that I am not me. It means they have a connection. How do we discover and keep that love comes together? So let's open up the original design, how God created man and woman in one and separated them to reunite them again. Okay. If you open up page 42, and you will see there is two contrasting models of love. One says, the evolutionary side says, sensation of love is blind instinct. Why people fall in love? Just they happen to meet each other. They like each other. It's a blind instinct. That's the evolutionary side says. What does the Torah side says? Sensation of love is a real thing. It comes from the soul, not just happen to fall in love. If you happen to fall in love, you happen also to fall out of love. But if it comes from the soul, it's real and it's enduring. Is there a real unity between two people? Well, the evolutionary model would say no. No real unity. The Torah looks and says, it is a true, real unity because those two souls combine together. The third line, is it necessary to make a commitment? Yes, as long as it's good for me. If it's not good for me, I don't need to make a commitment. Torah says when two people get married is a commitment for life. That's why they get married. Otherwise, there is no reason to get married. That commitment is for life, unless, obviously, again, there is unexpected situations that do happen sometimes. Every rule is an exception to the rule. But that's called the exception. But the rule is a commitment for life. Then the evolutionary model says, I will stay married only when it's convenient for me. Or you stay married even when it's tough. When convenient, you don't need encouragement to stay married. When it's tough, that's where Torah teaches you. You have to start working on your relationship. Again, the evolutionary model would say marriage is a cultural artifact. It just happens to be we are culturally on the same page, we think alike. And Torah looks, marriage is a vital way to reunite the two souls. Evolutionary model would say marriage is about the body, the attraction, the physical attraction. That's what makes it so crucial. And the Torah looks the internal attraction, about the soul. Not to say that the external attraction is not good. The external attraction should reflect what the soul feels. Evolutionary model goes to conditional love. Torah model is unconditional love. I love you unconditional when it's good for me. If you disturb my life, how can I love you? It's unconditional. That's what Torah looks. Now if it disturbs me, now I have to work. What's wrong with me? Why it disturbs me? Not what's wrong with you. Subject to erosion, eternal. Okay, that's subject to erosion means it's temporarily. If it's good, I will stay married, or it's eternal. Means in this world and even to the next world. If people were married for a long time, it continues. By the way, when souls come up to heaven, there is also concept of families and so on, which exist in heaven, similar the way it's here. We entering, it's already 10 o'clock, and it's getting late, but we did not even reach half point of the class. Just to give you an idea, and we're skipping a lot. How much more to talk about it? So I will skip to the bottom line, because I cannot keep you here till the morning. But you should know there is much more to learn about it, which we will try to catch up in the later classes. What is love? To summarize in 2 words, the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, love that depends on something, when this something ceases, the love also ceases, ends. True love that is not dependent on anything, that love never ceases. Means there is a true love or love which we depend on each other. I am married to you because it's good for me. If this marriage is not good for me, I wouldn't be in it. Because that's the way we look at marriage. Or I am married because we are both the same soul. We're giving something to each other. That without it, I am not perfect and you are not perfect. How do we able to achieve that level. Says that more as I can in Tanya, Perek Lamed Bet. Ha'osim gufam ikar v'nafsham tefillah. Therefore, if you can focus that those who do their body is the most important focus of life, and their soul is secondary, cannot be true love between these two people. The essence of everything in Torah is to elevate the soul above the body. Not to say again that the body is not important. I never said that. It's very important. But to look what is first and what is second. Usually we are attracted naturally to the body, and then we see, is the soul also good for us? Or we first look on the soul compatibility, and then we check, okay, and then the body follows. And that's important because if the soul what makes the connection and the bonding, then is unconditional. It's there. The commitment is there. If anything needs to be worked on, we are ready to do anything to work. So what is love's most important ingredient? The answer to that is one word. It's a Hebrew word. There is no real translation to English from this word. But to keep love and stay with love all your life, you need one word. It's called bitul. Bitul.
Doesn't that mean submission?
What is bitul? You speak Hebrew, right? What's the bitul means? Speak it to Kamala.
How can I explain?
Is there such a translation of this word bitul? You speak Hebrew?
It's to cancel.
To cancel. So what does bitul means? To cancel what?
Yourself.
Give up.
Yourself, okay. To cancel yourself, so who will your partner be married to?
Well, it's not that, it's that your ego is really
Submit.
To cancel your ego?
You're not leading with your ego, you become selfless in order to be,
Why do you need to do that? Why would you want to do such a thing?
because that's the point.
Isn't ego part of me? Do I have to lose my identity? Do I have to lose my confidence, who I am, what I am? What is that bitul means? In simple words, bitul, I can translate in a few words, means humility. If you think compromise, it's not compromise. It's humility, giving up, giving in,
Submission.
changing, self-nullification, whatever you can say it. I'll give you an example, an idea. See these two candles? This is a candle, this is a candle. Each candle, can they merge together? These two candles, can they ever merge together, become a one?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Try.
I need a little flame.
Ah, you need a flame. What happens without a flame? You cannot do it?
Well, have to try very hard.
Each body is a candle. Can those two candles get together and be as one? Impossible. Put on the fire and imagine this candle has fire. Usually in physical, if you give something to you, I don't have it anymore. Now this candle has fire. I turn on the fire on the other candle. He shared the fire with this candle. And still has fire here. You can give and still retain your own fire. Now each one has warmth, light. If you close the lights here, suddenly when those two get together and they shine together, what happens? There is more light and suddenly there is more warmth and they both shine nicer and help each other. If you leave them long enough together, they will merge as one. So each body is a candle. Each neshama is a fire. When each body is only a candle without the fire, each one is totally separate. But in order to make them to come together, you need to ignite the fire and merge them together. That's what becomes the unity of two people. And now the word bitul means, and there is two people arguing about something. There is two ways. One can be very aggressive, my way or the highway. And the other one is too weak to fight. Okay, I'll take your way. Do I have a choice? I have no choice. So one is strong, one is weak. There is no choice over here. Then there is another option. Okay, you want to be right, I'll give in this time. But next time I'll be right, okay? This time I'll agree with you, next time you agree with me. Fine? Okay. They're trying to play the game. But still, you keep a grudge. You made me to give up something for you. I keep a grudge against you. Because you and me disagreed about something. We had a fight. Okay, I gave in, but I still remember and I feel I keep a grudge. And another one, till finally I explode, right? Comes the Torah and teaches you what is love. Love, if you love someone, you merge with someone. And merging with someone means, those are the words. Yesh, an entity, if you want to take a seed, should become a tree. What do you do with that seed? You plant it to the ground. What happens to that seed inside the ground? Rottens. Disintegrates. From there begins to grow a beautiful tree. If you take a piece of gold and you want to mold it something, a beautiful coin, something special, you have to melt it first for whatever it is. And then it can emerge out to something new. For a person, an ego, to achieve something, we are very limited. Only when we can go back to ayin, to become, to nullify ourselves, we can merge up together to a new entity. Other words, when is me or you is the question, then I am I and you are you, we cannot really work. So when I decide, in order for us to agree on something, I will be ready to give in my side, you are ready to give up your side, and now let's both emerge to our new side. That's what's called bitul. Bitul is a new height that everyone can reach by self-nullification. If a person wants to reach a new height, it's not with physical strength. It's not by being aggressive. It's not by showing, I am right and you are wrong. Sometimes a mother can gently touch the child, it will do much more for the child than a strong push. Imagine there are two people who are in front of a canvas painting. The gentler you are, the most beautiful painting will come out. Each one puts a brush on the canvas. In a gentle way, it will come out a beautiful painting. If you push your paint in my way, the paint will be a disaster. That's what Bitul is all about. A marriage and love can happen only if I understand to reach a greater height, I must nullify myself and my way, and my opinion, my ideas, so we can both merge to a new idea. Only when we both nullify, we can reach to the new idea. I did not really go into explain that concept. And it's in the Kabbalistic terms, it's called Yesh, Ayin, and Yesh. From one entity to reach to a greater entity has to be emptiness in between. Only when two people live together, understand we are there together to grow and to come up with something more spiritual and more special, we both have to first become ayin, self-nullified with our concept. And from there we go, both will reach to a new height. And that's the whole idea of love. Bitul. Which sometimes is very difficult. I will conclude with a short story. There was a man in Israel who had a beautiful, nice little farm that he inherited from his parents, from his grandparents, was very proud of his little farm. And he had a cousin came from Texas. And the Chekhov came to visit his cousin in Israel. Ah, so beautiful. And he was so proud to show to his cousin from Texas, look at my little farm. Look how beautiful it is. Okay? In the evening, they're sitting by the dinner table. And the cousin from Israel says, no, how do you like my beautiful farm? He says, so beautiful. Your farm is so beautiful. But it's tiny. Small. And what do you have? So the cousin from Texas could not explain to him how big is his farm. So he says to him, I will tell you, I'll explain to you, describe to you how big is my farm. I can drive a whole day from the beginning of the day till the end, a whole day on my tractor to cover my farm. A whole day with my tractor. And that's how big is my farm in Texas. And the Jew from Israel thinks for a moment, says, I understand. I have mercy on you. I used to have such a tractor also. Sometimes takes very difficult to understand the other perspective. I used to have my own tractor like that too. It's very difficult. How do you perceive somebody else's concepts? It's only when you have total ayin, emptiness. I am not, my opinion doesn't matter because I want to reach something greater. It's only when there is that ayin in between, I can reach to a higher level. If there is ego and ego, we can never reach anywhere. When there is bitul, bitul is the opposite of ego. Totally opposite. Nullify that ego. Get rid of that ego. Then you can reach to a new level. That's just in short, but there's much more to talk about it.
Bitul is from Levater, right?
Yes. Next week we're going to study of building a healthy home and family.
Rabbi, you know what I heard, it is too, but I think it was a reverse way to have that when women come into the law, they say, to elevate the soul of their mate so that they could go up to Shemayim and they don't have to be reincarnated. Could it never be the other way around?